to listen to the Lap Traffic Podcast.
What is up, Lap Traffic Nation? Welcome to episode 249 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. I am your host, the Professor Brandon Crowd. Hope you all had a fantastic 4th of July, 3-day weekend. Oh, all that good stuff. Lots to get into tonight. Very excited. Well, I mean, we're still hanging around that 11 winner mark, and we're now through 20 races. Can you believe it? There are only 6 races to go in the regular season. That's nuts. Oh, so much to talk about tonight. But before we get rolling, don't forget, roast the competition. Be the first to the finish line with 5 Lakes Angry Brew Coffee. Angry Brew is a massively caffeinated, amazing tasting, high-octane, power-packed fuel that will get you through the day, all day, every day. When you need a power-up, reach for Angry Brew Coffee with a punch. And man, could I have used some coffee with a punch on Monday morning when it was time to clean up from the big 4th of July bash that we threw. I tell you, it was so much fun. It just all week last week, like I had to type out a to-do list, which probably doesn't surprise many of you, but I had to make sure I got everything in between work and all that good stuff, and I had power wash the deck, cut the grass, go get the brisket, prep the brisket, smoke the brisket, like all this stuff that I just needed to make sure that I got done. Monday morning after a full day of having fun with friends and all that good stuff, I needed a little pick-me-up to get everything cleaned up, that's for sure. So if you're like me and could use a little pick-me-up, get over to angrybrew.com, use code LAPPED, LAPPED, and get 10% off. I got another round of golfing on Saturday. I got a lot of golf coming up, which I am so excited about. Played this past Saturday, playing this Saturday. Got an outing in 2 weeks. Going to play up north, Mackinac Island in August. So I'm so excited for all of the golf that's going to be taking place. The outing coming up in a couple weeks is for Freddie the Pizza Man, who you've probably heard on the show, who's just awesome. The official charity of the Lap Traffic Podcast is Freddie the Pizza Man's autism charity. I'm excited. I sponsored a hole at the outing this year, and I'm looking forward to that. Going to be playing with Brad and Andrea Junker, so it's going to be a good time for sure. Hope you guys enjoyed last week's show with Parker Klickerman and the crew and some guys over at the E-Racer series for the Blue Emu Firecracker 400. Going to wrap that up tonight, which I'm excited about. Going to have Landon Cassill back on the show, as well as Michael Corsey Jr., who is our winner of the Blue Emu Firecracker 400. Also tonight, Dustin Albino from jski.com is going to be on. You guys know, trying to do a couple bonus shows with them every couple weeks and haven't done one in a couple weeks. And with the way things were setting up, I'm like, man, now's as good a time as ever. So no bonus show this week, just going to wrap everything up into one Tuesday show, which is pretty exciting. And then next week, kind of a milestone episode, 250. That's, quarter of something, right, with that. So, and I'm going to get you guys in the mix. So if you, the listener, the follower, would like to be a part of episode 250 next week, you want to talk racing, you want to talk about Atlanta, Knoxville, you want to complain about something, whatever it is, let me know. Shoot me a DM, email me, tweet me, whatever. And I'll make sure to reach back out and get you scheduled for a little time slot to be a part of next week's 250th episode, dedicated to you guys, because it's long overdue for some listener calls and all that good stuff. So who knows? Maybe we'll fire up the Wave Around hotline next week. I don't know. We'll see what's going on. So anyways, Dustin and I, we're going to talk Road America, social media shout-outs. Like I said, got Landon Cassill and our Blue Emu Firecracker 400 winner a little later on in the show, social media. Neudorff is back, LuckyDogs, which I dropped the ball on. I'll get to that later. And, of course, some Lap Traffic Fantasy to close it out. So let's get things going. Let's get Dustin Albino back on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, back for his 6th appearance as part of the J-Ski bonus shows. You know who it is. Welcome back, Mr. Dustin Albino. Sir, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. I haven't talked to you in a couple weeks. I bailed you out this week.
Yes.
I am here, and you're going to get whatever you want.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So Lab Traffic Nation, this morning, I didn't have anybody lined up. Like, I thought I had something, and then I wasn't sure, and it wasn't until later today that I finally confirmed with Landon and all that was going to come together, which you guys will hear in a little bit. So I'm like, well, I got to get somebody. What makes the most sense? And I'm like, well, Dustin and I haven't done anything in a couple weeks. We got some off weeks coming up. So rather than do a bonus show Thursday, let's see if we can wrap everything into a Tuesday show. And here we are. So thanks for being here last minute, man. I appreciate it.
Of course, glad I could bail you out. And I know how that is because doing the Front Stretch Pod from 2017 to 2020 and having, guests on 2018 to 2020, so 2.5 years, that can be a little stressful when someone bails out last minute or, you can't find someone for the week. So glad I could help you out.
Appreciate it, man. How was your 4th of July? Did you do anything fun?
4th of July was spent watching racing.
Yeah, I hear you.
A lot of racing over the weekend at Road America and Mid-Ohio with the IndyCar. And then July 5th is actually the day on Monday I celebrated. Went over and had a family picnic party, kind of a picnic type of deal. It was a lot of fun. What were you up to?
That's awesome. So we were jam-packed. So Saturday I played some golf. And then Sunday we had about 40 people over. I smoked a 14-pound brisket, steamed hot dogs, and all the good stuff. And I had the race on the background, and just really, it was great to see people that we haven't. 4th of July is like our big party, and it was great to see people and to socialize and to be outside and all that good stuff. Weather was perfect. So, and then Monday was like, oh man, I got to get up and clean up all this shit. And it was sweltering hot. Like it was rough go Monday morning, but here we are. So it was all good.
Yeah, been there, done that. Yes. I know how that is. But yeah, 4th of July it's one of my favorite holidays, truthfully. You get to see a lot of family barbecue. There's nothing wrong with a good old barbecue.
No.
And my girlfriend, her family take it pretty seriously too. So it was a fun weekend, even though there was a lot of racing surrounding it.
Absolutely. What you been working on, man? Anything good?
I am. I've got a piece coming out on Wednesday on NASCAR.com about Ty Gibbs. So you'll see that. Make sure to check NASCAR.com on Wednesday, just kind of talking about his development this year and kind of, exceeding expectations. Talk to Coy Gibbs, Steve D'Souza, who runs pretty much the Xfinity program there, and Chris Gallo, who's the crew chief of the 54. I should clarify, I didn't speak to Coy. It was comments he made at Pocono. So, very, very good story there, I think, kind of get his thought process. A couple stories, in the past. Tommy Joe Martins, that was a really fun one.
That was a good one.
Kind of in depth on the race team. So, and kind of where they're at in their search and sponsorship. And obviously they're a low budgeted team and I would dare say overachieving. So, especially this year in a stacked Xfinity field, even in the mid pack. So yeah, just kicking out content. Hoping people read.
That's all right. Yes, I feel that. I'm hoping people listen. Tommy Joe and guys like him, guys like BJ, they're open books, man. You want to know something, you want to know how they're doing something. They're not afraid to tell and make things public knowledge, which I'm sure you appreciate that even more than what I do. Cause what you do isn't a hobby and to be able to get that behind the scenes of how operations work, thought process, all that kind of stuff, that I imagine that's helpful from guys like them.
It is. They're straight shooters, and you brought up BJ, and that's a very good point. Like you could talk to BJ for hours, and he'd give you everything on record, and just tell you how it is from his standpoint. Same with Tommy Joe, and that was kind of the point of that story is just kind of get an update on Martins Motorsports because this was a 2-year plan from the beginning. And that, the second year is running up. So we know what's going to happen come, 4 months from now in the off season here. So I'll be interested to see what happens there. But yes, I love when drivers or, anyone in the sport can open up and, not be so
PC.
How do
PR?
I say this? Yeah. PR tidy, I guess,
yeah.
Be kind of have to talk around the truth. So, yes, I appreciate that greatly.
Absolutely. All right, Matt. Well, let's dive into like you said, we had a bunch of racing this weekend. I think I love the irony in this because the last time you were on, we were talking about Kyle Busch and his 99th Xfinity win, and we did some stuff with the listeners about will he get to 300, all this, and here we are, Kyle Busch picking up win 3 of the last 4 Xfinity races, and social media losing its mind. So I mean, I thought the race was great. I love that he picked up the win again, and I'm even more confident he's getting to 300. Where are you at on Kyle Busch and his Xfinity win?
As far as Road America specifically, he had to work for it. He really had to work all weekend for a first place finish on Saturday. What did he finish? Second on Sunday. So, I thought from start to finish, it was a solid. The Xfinity race was really solid. Same with the Cup, I thought, even though Chase Elliott kind of walked away with it on Sunday. I guess Kyle finished third to Christopher Bell. But I mean, I've come to expect great races on road courses in the Xfinity series. Truthfully, the last, I think at Indy last year, and I think that's why we're racing on the Indy Road Course and Cup this year. And I remember James Small had to tweet about it back then. Is just, because that race was so good. You were 3 wide with Allmendinger, Briscoe, and Cindric. I mean, that was good stuff, even though I think the Indy, oval's been pretty good for Cup over the last few years, but I digress. Going back to Saturday. Yeah, Kyle, he worked for it. He went off course twice. This was a challenging place for him, and it was just a place for him to get laps, in preparation for Sunday. So I would have liked to have seen what happened if there was another restart, even though, guys like Allmendinger were out of tires. Cindric was mowing back through the field after having to pit with, 2 or 3 to go. He still finished 8th. So if there was another restart, Kyle went from 7th to 2nd in 2 corners. I would have liked to see Cindric, what he could do. But, yeah, Kyle's on his way to 300. I'm not sure if they get there. I know I've said I think he will. If he keeps winning like he does in the Xfinity Series, 4 for 4, this year, I think he'll get there, even though he only gets 5 a year. Absolutely. No, I'm with you 100%. You mentioned about how in the Xfinity Series, we just expect to see good racing. And not that this, what I'm going to say here doesn't mean that this made it a good race, but the fact that it was a good race, and when we look at some of the people that finished in the top 10, Daniel Hemrick, second place, finishing second to Kyle Busch, that's almost got to be as good as a win, just minus the points and the trophy. One of these days, this dude's going to close it out. You like to think so. Right? He's just got to. How long were we talking about Chase Elliott, waiting for him to get that first win in the Cup Series? And then once it finally did, now they're just flying off, So I got to think once he gets to victory lane, he's going to get a lot in a short period of time. Then you've got guys like Michael Annett. We haven't talked about Michael Annett from a public perspective in terms of he's not a name I've mentioned on my show. He's not a name you're seeing across social media on Saturdays during Xfinity races too often. Third place finish. You and I have talked about Riley Hurst and the struggle of the 98 team all year. They finally put together a solid top 10. And then you've got guys like Austin Cindric, Noah Gragson, Justin Haley, who have kind of had, obviously Cindric's had his stellar year, but, Noah's been up and down. Justin Haley's been up and down. Brandon Brown, solid finish, 11th place. These are guys that are making this points battle incredibly interesting down the stretch here with 9 races to go in the regular season. They are, and a good thing about Road America too is how much tire wear there is, and we saw that, like you said, like Michael Annett. When it comes to road courses, Michael Annett will tell you this himself, not his cup of tea. So for him to go out there, get a top 3 finish, his first top 5 of the year, pass AJ Allmendinger with coming to the white, or maybe it was 2 to go. And granted, he had fresher tires, but that's got to give you a boost of confidence, mentally. So, for Michael Annett, big day. Daniel Hemrick. I'm trying to figure out where this team's at, because if you look at it, they're consistent. They're very fast week in and week out. But I can't even tell you how many times they've beaten themselves this year, man. Like, you think of Charlotte, he won the first 2 stages, looked to be cruising to the victory, leading just about every lap. pit road speeding penalty. Can't get back to the front. Gets to about 7th. Late race restart. Gets caught in a big wreck. That was started between him and his teammate Brandon Jones. Last week at Pocono, he had the strategy down, and then he sped on pit road for a second time in the race. And he was going to take fuel only, but it didn't matter because they sped on pit road. So he had to come back in, rebounded to 6th. So they are getting finishes out of it. Second this weekend, another speeding penalty. They're getting finishes out of it, but he's approaching 200 wins now at the NASCAR, the top 3 series, and is it ever going to happen?
Right.
That's the question, and that's probably like for him too, like mentally, like what's going to happen next to prevent me from going to victory lane. So I think he gets there. I hope for himself he gets there, because I think there's a lot of pressure on the JGR drivers this year with how well Ty Gibbs is performing.
Well, and as we look as Kyle Busch, what he's done, right? He's raced his 5 Xfinity, or does he have one more left?
This weekend's his last,
right? So once he's not in the field, not to say that guys like Austin Cindric aren't going to be competing at 100%, but they might be switching gears a smidge, even though maybe they wouldn't admit it, and getting ready for the playoffs, to where maybe they might miss a setup one weekend, and maybe that's where Daniel Hemrick's able to capitalize on that win, and then they can even put more focus towards the playoffs and go from there. So, I would like to think as the season and the regular season winds down, that might increase Daniel Hemrick's chances of picking up that first victory.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because especially with, there's 9 races to go in the regular season, and it's so easy these days to miss a setup because you don't have fraction of qualifying. So the likelihood of that happening is, increased more than in the past, where you have, in the Xfinity level, like an hour and a half to work on it throughout the weekend. So yeah, I'd like to think Hemrick wins and wins soon. And I feel like once he does crack the seals per se, I think he'll find it, victory in multiple times. So I think it's just a matter of, not a matter of if, but a matter of when he gets to victory lane.
Absolutely. I'm with you there. You mentioned Tommy Joe Martins a little bit ago in the article you did with him, solid top 15 for finish for him. Kevin Harvick, who I believe Harvick ran a BJ car, right?
Yeah, it was affiliated with Storehouse, but yeah.
Yeah, so for them to get a 6th place finish out of that car is pretty solid. So a lot of good finishes from guys that we're not maybe typically talking about on the ovals, which I think is what everybody is loving about the road course racing, at least to a degree, is the fact that we talk about names that aren't getting talked about every week, and they're going out there and competing hard. And then, we look at the standings, and then we can get over to the Cup Series here. But, I love the fact, man, I wish, Josh Berry and Ty Gibbs, were running for this championship, because then, right now we're knocking 3 people out if that's the case. Right now we're looking at Myatt Snyder maybe bumping Brandon Brown out because, Snyder's got the win.
He's got the win,
and he's only 3 points back from 12 from a points perspective, So I love seeing those points battles towards the home stretch here in the regular season.
Yeah, me too. And it's ironic because last year, the Xfinity field was 2 less deep. Obviously, Joe Gibbs added the 54 car. And that's, kind of an all-star car. You got Ty Gibbs in it, majority of the races. You got Kyle Busch in it, obviously. Truex ran a race. Daniel run Darlington. John Hunter Nemechek's in it a few times. But that's a standout car, obviously. So that makes the field deeper. And then colleague adds a 3rd full-time car. So it's ironic that, kind of tying this all together, it looks like the final 2 spots for the second straight year is going to come down to Jeremy Clements and Brandon Brown. Now, I'm not saying Riley Herbst can't get into it. Right now he's 43 out. And they have speed. They just, for whatever reason, we've talked about this so many times on the podcast, they just can't put a full race together. And that's going to bite you, I feel like. If you keep, messing with fire, you're going to get burned. And we got 9 races to go in the regular season, like I said. And, how many more times can they play with fire? Because this car has speed. It won 9 times last year. We know it's good. And Riley, for as much flack, I guess you could say he gets, he still made the playoffs last year in JGR equipment. So he's he's got the talent to get in the playoffs, and they got the speed. So I think it's going to be a three-way battle, and I think it's going to come down to the wire between Clements, Brown, and Herbst. But Clements had a bad weekend over the weekend. Brown had a solid weekend. Chopped 17 points off. We're going to Atlanta. Clements was fast there in the spring. Brown was quick, gotten involved in an accident. So I'm curious to see how to look, this time next week.
Absolutely. I'm with you there. All right, man, let's talk a little Cup here. I mean, Chase Elliott doing Chase Elliott things, picking up another road course win. I mean, it's beyond impressive what he's doing, because it's like, for me, it's like, man, I didn't pick him in fantasy because it's like he's so hot. At some point it's going to cool off, and I don't want to be, I don't want to pick him when I shouldn't have, but he just keeps going out there, getting it done. You mentioned it a little bit ago. He ran away with it. I think he took the lead with 15 or 16 to go and ended up winning by 6-7 seconds, something like that. Like, I mean, we see that at an intermediate on an oval. So to see that on a road course, I mean, that's just lights out, just knowing what he's doing.
And he's just so like calm, cool, consistent. They had an onboard with him, and it's like he's not working the wheel very hard. He's looking very, cool as he downshifts or upshifts. Just not, he's just not finessing the cars like other drivers do, and they're having to work for their finishes while he's just running away from the field. So, yeah, I mean, he's only 2 wins away already from, tying Jeff Gordon being the most, all-time wins leader on a road course. And I know now there's more road courses. We got 7 of them this year.
Right.
And he's won 50% of them so far. And he's won 7 of the last 11. So, I mean, that's the streak that's really, quite impressive. Yes. Because if you're looking at this from a broad standpoint, that's essentially when Gordon and Stewart were racing in their prime, 5.5 years of road courses, two a year. Yep. With Watkins Glen and Sonoma. That's pretty freaking impressive that he's won 7 of 11.
Absolutely.
So, and he mentioned it in the post-race interviews too, that, he'd had a couple bad weeks in a row. He had the loose wheel at Nashville where he had 5 loose lug nuts. Yeah. Man, that still blows my mind. And how he was complaining about it the whole last run too that weekend. And, they got DQ'd. Last week, he gets involved in a couple incidents, bad weekend at Pocono. So this Road America just felt the perfect time for him to get back on track and, Hendrick get another win. They won half the races this year.
Yeah, no, it's nuts, man. All right. One of the things, just kind of piggybacking off of what I was talking about with the Xfinity series is just in terms of some of the guys that we aren't normally talking about. We had Bell, Briscoe, Chastain, and Riddick in the top 10. Now, I put Riddick in there because, one, I know we're talking about him a little bit more from a general perspective in terms of RCR and starting to find a little speed and Riddick, having some solid finishes. But I threw him in there because when we look at guys like Bell, Briscoe, and Riddick, who have dominated and done very well in the Xfinity series and are really starting to show what they have on the road course levels, at least in the Cup Series. So I thought that was really a cool thing and an impressive thing by those guys to be able to go out, they've run Road America, so they knew what was, they knew the track a lot better. And it was awesome that they were able to go out there and show that and get the finishes to support that.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there. All of those guys that you just mentioned have multiple, in Chastain's case, a handful of starts at Road America, prior to this weekend. But you look across the board, and I think that goes back to the Xfinity series, just running, 4 or 5 road courses a year for the last few years, and them honing in on the road course skills and, going to the simulator and just doing all the background stuff that we don't see to prepare that helps in real life when they get to the racetrack. So, yeah, a lot of those guys needed good runs. Specifically, I think Christopher Bell. Obviously, he won the Daytona Road Course, the second race of the year, but it's been a tough year. And he said that last week. Right now, they have like an average finish, I think, 18th in first top 5 since Richmond almost 3 months ago. So, yeah, he needed that run. And so, obviously, 50% of his top 5s this year have come on road courses. There's only one of those in the playoffs, so I don't know how that kind of bodes for him. But You mentioned Reddick. I'm curious to get your take on Reddick because he's a guy who's been consistent here for the last 2.5, 3 months, I would say. 10 top 10s this year. I think they got a lot of momentum, but they're just missing that little something to get over that bump to, be more consistently in the top 5. But he had a lot of speed on Sunday, so I'm curious to get your take about where you think they're at.
I have been a big fan of Riddick. Riddick's been a longtime supporter. Not that he's the one telling me yes, it's his PR rep, but he's never said no. So ever since he started coming on the show back early on in his Xfinity career, I kept an eye on him and what he was doing. And I just kept, and then when he went on his tear in the Xfinity series, I was like, all right, I really felt like RCR was doing the right thing. They were kind of, if we're going to, in my opinion, use a baseball analogy, building the farm system up a little bit, starting at the Xfinity series, building things up, and then that would hopefully carry over to the Cup series. And I really feel like we've seen that. Especially out of that number 8 team. And, like you said, they're there. What are they missing? And I really wonder if it's a matter of, man, if they had some extra practices and if they had some extra lap time, if they might be able to hone in on a few more top 5s this year. Would some extra lap time, help improve some adjustments to where they're maybe starting a little bit better to where they're finishing, to where if they could start there, then maybe they'd be able to, build on it during the race to get that top 5 versus building on it to get that top 10. So I really personally feel like that team's there. It's an improvement. I love it because I grew up an RCR fan, obviously, and would really love to see that team, start to get back to the win column. I see the same thing with Roush, and I'm excited to see what, the addition of Brad Keselowski does for that team and an organization next year. Like, if all the old school teams could at least get 1 or 2, you can get Richard Petty in the mix too. Like, I mean, man, now we're really talking. Now we're cooking, and now we're maybe getting to that 15th winner, 16th winner thing. If we can all start to, if all those teams can start to hone in on some wins.
Well, I think you brought up the lack of practice, and this seems to be a common denominator with this portion of the podcast, I guess, because you look at those 4 guys that you named: Christopher Bell, Chase Briscoe, Ross Chastain, Tyler Reddick. I mean, they're all in their best opportunities they've had in their Cup career anyway, and they've had no practice this year or last for Bell and Reddick's case, being full-time with Levine Family Racing, for Bell last year, and then with RCR for Reddick. So they're kind of learning on the fly and clearly both made big improvements. Reddick's already got more top 10s this year than he did last year. And even at, Ross Chastain, obviously he had a big week last week, or his team had a big week with the announcement of the sale of Chip Ganassi Racing and him not finding out until the day of. But it seems like they found something too. Especially Kurt Busch. Obviously Kurt Busch is a world-class talent, probably top 5, I would say, on pure talent in Cup right now. He's gained over 100 points on the cut line in the last 5 races. Chastain's been just as quick. He just can't put all the races together. And I think that's just learning these cars, learning the Cup Series. Sure. And as you know, Ross has a tendency to be a little bit over-aggressive, which we saw come out at Pocono twice. So, and 3 of his top 10s lately have come on road courses, and I think that's just the disposal of him having AJ Allmendinger last year at Colleague, Kurt Busch this year, who's both are obviously really good on road courses. So I think we're seeing these young guys start to improve at the Cup level, which is something I think we need.
Absolutely. I'm with you there. Let me ask you this, so we've talked about, and the fans have talked about, and that's probably why we went and took Cup to Road America, because of the great quality racing we've gotten out of the Xfinity series there. So we finally had it out over, the Cups haven't been there since one time back in the 50s, I think it was. What'd you think of, general perspective of Cup at Road America?
I am a fan. I'm a big fan. In fact, I really want to go. I was thinking throughout the week last week, this is an event, just like Nashville. I had this feeling leading to Nashville too. This is a big event. I kind of wish I was there. So I think it's here to stay on the Cup schedule. But with saying that, we got 7 road courses this year. 6 were scheduled. Obviously, the Daytona road course wasn't originally scheduled. I don't know what the perfect number is of road courses on the Cup and Xfinity schedule. I want to say 5, maybe 6 6, but I feel like that might be pushing it because I feel like we need more road courses, or not road courses, excuse me, short tracks as well, because we only got 5 right now, and then the dirt race at Bristol. So it's tough to balance. I would choose Road America over probably some of the other road courses on the schedule for sure. Like at Sonoma, the quality of racing there over the last couple of years has kind of gone down.
Sure.
Even though that's a track that's similar to Road America, has a lot of tire wear. But yeah, I mean, I think it's here to stay. Obviously, they announced over the weekend there's billboards saying they'll be back next year. So I think that'll be fun, and I hope to be there next year.
Maybe I can join you next year.
Plus, the fans, like, there were so many of them.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's great to see people coming out. I'm with you. I think it's here to stay. You know, when you talk about the perfect number, like for me, like you said, you know, short tracks and road courses, that's what the fans want. And I think the fans want that because of the package that we have and the racing that we've had at the, you know, oversaturated intermediate tracks that we have, you know. So I think we can maybe answer that question. And I'm not even going to say at the end of next year because that's going to be the first year with the new car, you know. So maybe it's 2023 that we're really able to kind of hone in on, all right, what kind of racing are we getting with the new package at the ovals, you know, more so the 1.5 miles and 2 miles. And then we can maybe actually answer that question in terms of, well, where's the fan engagement from that perspective? So we might be, in my opinion, 2 years away from really honing in on what the perfect number for each style of track is.
I think that's a good number. But it also kind of concerns too negative of a word. But the fact that, you know, there's a lot of chatter in the industry right now about possibly getting a street course. Yeah. I'm kind of mixed on that because I think NASCAR has the best oval racing in the world. So, you know, focus on that. In addition to running a few road courses or a handful of them. But, you know, street courses, in my opinion, are for cars that are not nearly as heavy as, you know, NASCARs are. Yeah. So, like IndyCar, Formula One, like they can put on some great races on street courses. I'm a little concerned about that on the NASCAR side. I'm all for it. Like, you know, give it a try, see what happens. Absolutely. If it's faster, don't go back.
Now, see, that's something I would love for them to test as an all-star race. Go do that. Give me something different there. Don't give me Texas for an all-star race. Give me something like that. Give me something new to watch that we can then apply like we did for the Charlotte Roval, which turned out to be great, but I digress.
That's a good point. That I feel like that would be a good kind of introductory to street courses if that's something we are going to pursue as a sport. So yeah. I'm interested in seeing how they would perform on them. But again, I'm kind of but you know, kind of tying that all together too is like, what does that do to the road courses on the schedule? Sure. Does that mean we're just adding a free course and then not getting rid of a road course, or you know, what's the balance there? Yeah. So there's just few questions there. Well,
and then we can kind of wrap it up here. But I would just say, you know, when we talk about what's the perfect number, well, you know, what track's going to get this, what track's going to get that, and I think it's a matter of maybe just getting in a rhythm with NASCAR's new flexibility in terms of what they have with the schedule. You know, it might be, you know, you're going to have your tracks that are obviously going to get 2 dates a year, no questions asked, you know, but it maybe become a thing of, all right, maybe we go to Road America every 2 years to make room for something here that, you know, there may just be a rotation like that, which is obviously new to the sport, you know, and I'm curious to see what tracks, you know, make appearances, don't have appearances and all that over the course of the next, you know, handful of years till we see what the actual game plan ends up being.
Are you saying one of those tracks with 2 dates a year might be Atlanta?
I think it might be.
I think that's probably a good, you know, transition into the news today. And yes. I'm curious to get your take on it. With Atlanta Motor Speedway deciding to repave after this weekend's event. They've, I guess, discussed this internally for a few months, probably even longer, really a few years. And I think it was supposed to get repaved after 2017 originally. And the drivers, I think Dale Jr. is like, no, do not repave it. Repaving it, increasing the banking by 4 degrees. I mean, that's a big move. Yeah. Some of the drivers had a little backlash on social media. I saw Kyle Larson, you know, his comments about Atlanta not really talking to the drivers or discussing the drivers about this, you know, drastic change. I'm curious to get your take on this.
So, I mean, I feel so bad for my boys over at the PETM podcast who are, Atlanta's their home track. I've been there, seeing that track on TV versus standing on that track in person. You just don't get the visual and really what that track looked like, and I developed an even greater appreciation for the track. And I'm sad to see it to go. I understand at some point it was an inevitability, but like you said, it's been years that they've kind of just pushed it off. I think with what Atlanta is trying to do from a complex perspective, that probably fits into it. New track, new complex, new facilities, new entertainment, all this kind of stuff. So I get that's probably maybe why now makes sense from the overall facility perspective. I'm glad they're at least going to make a couple changes to it, that might help it. If I saw correctly, they're not tearing up, they're going on top of, which that might add new character versus, just, digging out and laying flat and putting brand new on. I'm curious to see how it goes. And I understand, the fans probably don't like that, and I get that. I didn't like when they repaved Michigan. We saw how long it took Daytona to come in. We saw what happened when they redid Bristol. I just hope they learn from some of the past tracks mistakes in terms of, how that can take some grooves away. And, like I said earlier, we're just going to have to see what happens with the new car as well on some of these surfaces.
And that's a good point, because you're bringing a new car to now a new racetrack essentially, because you add the 4 degrees of banking in the corners, you narrow the racing groove, and I get that this package is all designed to kind of keep the cars closer together. Unfortunately, though, Brandon, I don't think that always puts on the best racing. So I don't know how it's going to affect Atlanta per se.
No, I'm with you.
But I mean, look, this track hadn't been paved in over 24 years.
Yeah.
So by law of gravity, it needs to be repaved.
It's ready. Yeah. No. Yep.
I mean, for instance, like you look at Kansas Speedway, it opened in 2001 and was repaved at the end of 2012. So 12 years. I mean, that's half the time. So yes, I think Atlanta's due for a repave.
Yes, in the grand, if you want to look, I mean, that's just kind of what it is. Like, it's just time. Like, it's well exceeded expectations from that regard. And everybody, and I get, for me, it's like, I mean, everybody loves it because it becomes a tire wear race and how you manage your tires. And so your veterans like Kevin Harvick that just know how to, roll the center of the corners perfectly, so now it might even the playing field up for some guys now, because they're not going to have to manage the tire per se as carefully. We see that at the short tracks who can save the brakes, so I'm tuning in. It don't matter what they do. So
that's the thing too. Is they always get we're hooked. So they'll always get back. It was eye appealing, I guess, to see kind of not backlash, but kind of some of the driver, comments on it on social media, and Kyle Larson saying like, he probably knows better than what the fans know since he's raced on a few hundred different racetracks over his career. Right. I mean. And then they lean so heavily on Larson for like SMI. I'm talking about same company that owns Atlanta, for the Bristol dirt race, and Austin Dillon. And obviously those guys have a dirt background, but to make this is a big change. Yes, it truly is. Like we're not thinking about it like that right now, but when we see this place next year, I mean, it depends on how TV, kind of depicts it, I guess, but it's going to be different. Yeah. And I think we're going to take a notice. So I'm surprised. I am surprised that NASCAR and SMI didn't really speak with the drivers ahead of time before it came out.
And it's, knowing that they do that on some of their bigger changes. Yeah, that's definitely interesting. And I'm curious as things progress down the road as to what the thought process was behind that. That's for sure. All right, man, let's wrap it with this one. Speaking of new tracks, the Trucks are going to run their second dirt race of the year, Knoxville, going back to Tennessee. I mean, I am all about truck dirt racing. I love everything about it, and I'm excited for Friday night, man.
I am too. And it's the first time that we've gotten 2 truck races on dirt, ever.
Yeah.
So in the same year anyway. So I'm curious to see how Knoxville kind of takes to the trucks, or I should say the trucks take to Knoxville. You got a lot of dirt ringers in, I guess you call it, like Donnie Schatz. I'll be curious to see how he does. It's a late race on Friday night, so
that it is. It's definitely a later.
Drink your caffeine.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's cool to see. It's cool to see guys in it too, like Michael Annette. He's an Iowa native. Grew up doing a little dirt racing. He's racing it, flying to Atlanta over either that night or the next morning. Same with Brett Moffitt. He's racing in the race. So it's stacked fields. You got 40 trucks entered. I hope it's better than the Bristol dirt race. And
yes.
I say that there was stretches of that race where it was, good racing, but then it just became dust filled and a lot of guys couldn't see, and caution after caution after caution. So I'm hoping that we don't get that this weekend.
I'm with you. All right, man. Where can everybody keep up with you on social media?
Yeah, of course, man. As always, go follow me at Dustin Albino on Twitter. And make sure to tune into at Jayski. We just promote all of our stuff on social media and the Facebook page too, at Jayski's Facebook page, and my Facebook page at Dustin Albino. So yeah, check us out. Like I said, my Ty Gibbs piece will be on NASCAR.com on Wednesday, so definitely tune into that. And hopefully you'll learn a thing or two about Ty.
Absolutely. I love it, man. All right, man. Great to catch up with you, Lap Traffic Nation. Huge thanks, Dustin Albino, for bailing me out tonight. Appreciate you, man. We'll catch you soon.
Sounds good.
All right, Lap Traffic Nation, great to get back, Dustin. Great to have Dustin Albino back on the show. Always great to catch up with him. Right now, though, it's time for a little Lap Traffic social media. Make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, YouTube, The Lap Traffic Podcast, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Lap Traffic PC. If you've made it this far into the show, go leave a review. Listen to the show on iTunes, Podbean, or your favorite hosting site. Tell your friends. They can even tell Alexa to play the Lap Traffic Podcast. Giveaways. Haven't had one in a minute. I think I'm due. I've got a bunch of 5 Lakes Angry Brew coffee to give away. So I think we'll get a giveaway going here this week. Go to angrybrew.com. Use code LAPT. Get 10% off your order. And let's get some followers. And speaking of followers, some new followers. Travis, at Travis41273284 from Road America. Welcome to the show, Travis. Sarah, at Sarah Handy _marketing for Ryan Ellison, writer over at Kicking the Tires. Welcome to the show. And Leanne, at Leanne P09, Chase Elliott fan from Ohio. Welcome to the show, guys. If anybody wants stickers and koozies, just go to the website, fill out the contact page, and I'll send you some for free. And hey, if you want some Lap Traffic merch, t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, all that good stuff, go to the laptrafficpodcast.com, click on the store. There's a plethora of designs, shirts, colors, logos, images, all that good stuff. So there's that. All right. You guys have been listening all the last couple of weeks with the E-Racer, iRacer, all that good stuff, hyping up and talking about the Blue Emu Firecracker 400. The race ran last Wednesday. We've got our winner. So let's get Landon Cassill and our winner, Michael Corsey Jr. on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, I'm so excited. You guys have been listening over the last couple weeks. You guys have heard from Landon Cassill. You've heard from Parker Kligerman. You've heard from the competitors. Well, it's time to wrap this thing up in a nice, neat little bow to conclude the coverage of the E-Racer Blue Emu Firecracker 400. Joining me on the line, the first, he's the driver of the number 4 with JD Racing. This is his 8th appearance on the Lap Traffic Podcast. It's Landon Cassill. Landon, what's up, man?
Hey, Brandon, thanks for having me. Glad we can finally wrap this thing up. It's been quite a month, quite an event.
Oh, man, I bet. And also joining me on the line, he is the winner of the Blue Emu Firecracker 400 in the double zero, Michael Corsey Jr. What's up, man? How are you?
It's great to be here, man. I like that. That sounds good.
Yes, sir, man. All right, so let's start with you, Mike, man. So talk about, whether you want to talk about the race, the last few laps that were just absolutely incredible, the event itself, man. Talk about this experience for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a handful of days now, and it's still hard to believe. Just I think you have one part of it just trying to get it in the field, get in the show, and all the stuff before that. But you get all the way up into that point, and you think you got a chance to win. You're one of the cars, and just for the race to play out the way it did, I was up in the lead, getting wrecked in front of the whole field. Just all the adversity. I got wrecked. I got into a wreck again. And just the crazy luck that was on my side for one reason or another throughout the entire event, and to win it, it still doesn't feel real. It really doesn't.
Man, it's so cool. It was crazy to see, like you said, the end of that race was just something to be had. Talk a little bit about, your preparation going into that. You mentioned, you hope to just qualify and all that, but, what was it, just trial and error getting the setup? Did you have some help in picking the setup? What got you to have that winning car and to get to victory lane?
A lot of credit goes to my teammates, Seth, and then we had some alliance with Nick Ottinger, and of course those guys. I mean, they don't get any better, right? Those are the top of the line for those guys. They're so good at setting up those cars. And they, I mean, Seth handed me this setup to qualify with it. I got to that stage racing my way. I understood the cars a good bit. I felt like I could race them pretty good on the fixed setup, but I got through all that. We went on to qualifying, and Seth handed me this setup, and I went out to test just myself, and I probably crashed down into turn one the first about 20 times I drove it. It was that hard to control. So I put in probably about 300 qualifying laps of practice over a good couple of days just to make sure I didn't crash it. I knew it could be a pole winning setup, but even all the practice I did, I think I was about a half a tenth off of Ottinger and Seth, what they could run, which is just crazy. So I was telling them maybe by next year, I keep on practicing, maybe I'll be fast enough. But no, I was just, it was that hard to drive. So I was just happy not to, pin it during qualifying, but they set me up for success for sure.
That's awesome. So you want to have the problem Nick Ottinger had of being able to start at the rear for an extra $20,000 next year, right?
Yeah, hopefully that'd be pretty cool.
Landon, man, did you ever think, I remember hearing the term alliances a lot back in the tandem drafting days at Daytona and Talladega. Did you think in the iRacing world and in a series that's, your brainchild, that you'd have guys talking about alliances and setups and all that kind of stuff?
I can't say that I specifically predicted it, but ultimately that's one of the beauties about iRacing in this platform. It is still real racing. You might want to call it virtual or whatever it is, but the motorsports aspect of it is still real. And the fact that we run open setups for the main event portion of these e-racer events makes these teams and drivers collaborate and work on their setup and find the most efficient way to come up with a competitive car. So when you are at, Nick Ottinger's level and you're building the best setups, it's going to attract alliances and other drivers and teams that want to work with you.
That's so cool, man. So Landon, talk a little bit about the success of the event. I know that when I worked with you guys for the Carnomaly 500, you guys were talking about some of the numbers and the increases from the first year Firecracker to the Carnomaly, and now talk about from year to year from the two Firecrackers and from the increase from February to now this July event that you guys had.
Yeah, we had just incredible feedback on this event. It really feels like this Firecracker 400 is an instant classic in the sim racing community. We feel like it's got great brand recognition already, even just after doing it twice. Dale Jr. is excited about it. He's told us that he'll run it anytime. He's offering to help in the future and keep this event as big as possible. So our viewership was through the roof. Our social engagement was through the roof. We're really proud of everything. We felt like last year there were just a ton of eyeballs to watch races and to watch sim racing streaming. And we thought that would be a challenge this year to match those eyeballs because people are, kind of out of the pandemic and they're getting out of their houses. But I can tell you that our social media engagement was more than quadrupled what we saw last year. So just the exposure from social media, the engagement on Twitter, it made the event so much larger than it was last year, and it was incredible. So we got a lot of people to thank for that. I mean, our whole team worked extremely hard at E-Racer. We've got about 20 people that work on these events, and obviously Blue Emu for coming on to be the title sponsor.
That's awesome. Well, all right. So I got to thank Josh, because Josh really helped keep this together for me in terms of helping me coordinate with everybody and all that. So I gotta give a huge shout out to Josh. That's for sure. Landon, I mean, I know when you were on a couple weeks ago, like it was just, craziness getting this together, racing together. Now that this is done and you guys are going to be on a break for a couple weeks, I mean, what are you going to do with yourself, man? Like, do you know how to relax?
Well, I'm plenty busy already. I'm actually, tomorrow I'm flying to Vegas. I'm speaking at a conference for Voyager, and obviously I'm racing full time, and I've got a lot going on in the real world. So when it comes to E-Racer stuff, we'll be buttoning up the Firecracker 400. We've got a lot of drivers that we got to get paid, including Michael Corsey Jr. Your winner he's earned himself $2,000. I bet you're excited to see that. And so we'll get to work on the next event, which is going to be the LCQC, the Landon Cassill Qualifying Challenge. Will come back. It's going to come back in a little bit different form than you've seen in the past. The prizes will be just as big, but the format is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be made for TV. It's going to be exciting, and hopefully the community embraces it and gets involved.
That's awesome. Michael, man, what's next for you, man? What's some of the next big races that you got coming up?
For me?
Yes, sir.
I really don't know. I hadn't really thought about it a whole lot, but I just I'm in the middle of Road to Pro right now with iRacing, trying to get on the ladder to the Coke Series. First time I've ever tried it. So far so good. Made the top 70 in the first round, but a lot of work I still got to do to get through the second round here with starting off with Knoxville, which I'm terrible at dirt racing, so I still got a lot of figuring out to do. But between that and just some other league races and other stuff like that, I don't know exactly where it'll take me, but I'm super excited for whatever comes in the next couple of months here.
That's awesome. Well, I imagine we're going to see you in whatever the E-Racer series puts together. I'm sure we'll be talking to you in February, maybe next July, all that good stuff. Mike, tell everybody where they can follow you on social media, whether it's Twitch to watch or social media, Twitter to engage, and all that good stuff.
I got a little bit of everything. I'm WinVal 8820 on everything, from streaming races on Twitch to YouTube, where I play NASCAR Dirt to Daytona at the moment, some F1 stuff, any of the NASCAR console games, and of course Twitter. You can always reach out to me on Twitter. I always like talking to everybody on Twitter. It's a good time. So that's where you can find me. Awesome.
Landon, where can everybody keep up with you, man?
Yeah, I spend most of my time on Twitter, so that's where you can find me, at Landon Cassill on Twitter and on Instagram, everything else. And obviously follow eracer_GG on all the platforms as well.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, listen, Landon, good luck this weekend in Atlanta. Michael, congrats on the win. Guys, thank you so much for letting me be a part of another one of these things with you guys. It was a lot of fun. Look forward to working with you guys down the road and keeping in contact.
Thanks a lot.
All right. We'll catch you guys later. Oh, another exciting Firecracker 400. So awesome to be a part of the E-Racer community there back in February with the Carnomaly 500 and July, the Firecracker 400. Great to get to meet some new people and interact with Landon and Parker and all that. So awesome. So it's been an honor to be a part of that with those guys. So a lot of fun. Can't wait for the next one. All right. Right now, though, it's time. Let's get Mr. Brian Neudorff on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line after an extended week off from the show. You can follow him on Twitter at NASCAR_WXMAN, along with Aaron Studwell at Race Weather. Welcome back to the Lap Traffic Podcast, Mr. Brian Neudorff. Sir, how are you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thankful to Aaron for the fact that not only was my flight late, then my luggage was not put on the flight. Okay, it wasn't lost. They knew where it was. They just decided not to put it on the plane. And they said that they didn't say, Brian, we're not going to put your luggage on the plane, but they did kind of say some luggage will not be on the plane. And of course, they didn't really quite say who. And then when you get there and wait for 2 hours. So yeah, thanks to Aaron, because I just could not make the phone call.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I'd have been a little steamy.
I was literally walking, just landed, and I get a text like, you want to do it now? I'm like, I literally am deboarding the plane.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's all good, man. Glad everything finally got situated there, but that is never a fun process at all. I've had it to where our luggage made it to the spot and we didn't make it to the spot, which is always kind of a unique one. So, yeah, it happens, but it's always throws a wrench in it when it does happen. That's for sure. How was your 4th of July, man?
I worked, but it was okay. I mean, some people followed a little bit. I got to see some of the hydroplane boats race on the Ohio a little bit. I didn't get to see much because it was work, and we were doing for the local county emergency management to keeping track of weather. Now, the good news is weather was perfect, so there was no concern, no issue. But still, it was a work day.
Cool. Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, something different at least, right? Get you out of the office.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely nice. It was a new experience to learn and different things like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, man. Well, we're headed to 2 different racetracks this weekend. We're going to Knoxville for some dirt truck racing Friday night, and then down to Hotlanta for Xfinity and Cup. How are things looking for this weekend?
Let me see. It's July. It's hot. It's humid. And it's the southeastern United States. Do I need to go on any further?
Probably
I don't know. I mean, and then people are going to I think it's going to be one of those weekends where people are going to ask, why don't they put a dome over the track? And why can't they race rain tires on an oval? And I'm going to probably see 37 different weather apps that say completely different things. And their radar 5000 says this. No, sorry. I'm a little cheeky. Yeah, I mean, there's no one particular system, but we've got just going to have a hot and humid air mass over from anywhere. I mean, part of the reason is right after tropical Elsa, and should be that point by Friday, or by Friday should be up along the East Coast as a low, not a tropical system, but a system's going to try to work closer to the Tennessee Valley for Friday. So that's going to keep the chance of showers for the Knoxville area, and then even scattered showers and thunderstorms. They could be potentially widely scattered. So it's now a lot of times we get these scattered showers, and I like to say it's more miss than hit. It may be more hit than miss, but we will have to watch that. Unfortunately, this far out, we just don't know where individual pop-up cells or how widely scattered this activity will become. And then that pretty much carries us into the weekend as we're just kind of inundated with all this moisture in place. But again, to kind of talk about looking at Friday, it's warm, it's humid. It's not I wouldn't say it's a washout by any stretch of the means, but still Friday into Friday night, they've definitely got a chance of showers. Usually we do see the risk of activity typically diminishes once the sun goes down. So that is something that plays well, depending on, again, and a lot of times, like Aaron and I will say, is how long are certain things going to late if it's a night race. And then as we go into Atlanta for the weekend, it definitely, I'd say the odds of racing are somewhere in the 60-70% chance if I'm going to be somewhat conservative here. I don't like to go anything below that this far out because, again, a lot of things have to happen, but you're talking about temperatures near 90, and you got scattered showers and thunderstorms, especially as you go towards the afternoon. So this is going to be a complicated forecast. If you are going to the race, I typically tell fans especially with this far out and you got that higher than normal, definitely higher than 30% chance of showers, start thinking about a backup plan if you can. It never hurts. I mean, after my experience going to rained out races, it's almost built in. It's easier to cancel a hotel reservation than it is to make a new one at the last minute. So, and especially right now in this post-COVID apocalypse where hotel rooms are going like $400 a night in some situations, you want to make sure you're prepared the best you can.
Absolutely. 100%. All right. So potentially a little wet out there this weekend, both places. But hey, we'll persevere around that and have some fun. Sir, next week, man, I know you've talked about it the last couple times you've been on, that it's been a minute since you and Aaron have been on the show together. And
is he still doing that? Or are we still? I mean, yeah.
Next week, episode 250, kind of, a little milestone number there. So I thought next week would be a good time to have you both on the show, have some fun for a little bit. So
why would you do that to your audience?
I know, right?
Isn't your goal to keep them?
I need a time filler for next week. So no.
It's the off weekend. Let's just make sure we're clear.
So yeah, we'll get something scheduled with you and Aaron for next week to have some fun for a little bit. And always a pleasure, sir.
As always, definitely. And I liked your post about 15 minutes ago. You're just looking like you want people to be friends with you.
Right.
You just
you want to be my friend.
It's like, you're looking for friends, yet the friends you have, you don't even invite to things. Right. It's like, I see how it is. It's just, I want new friends, but I can't hold on to the ones I have.
Exactly. You got it, man. All right. Lap Traffic Nation. Huge thanks to Brian Neudorff for calling in tonight. Make sure you follow Brian on Twitter at NASCAR_WXMAN, along with Aaron Studwell at RaceWeather, who will catch both next week on the show. Sir, thanks so much, and we'll catch you next week.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll see you. All right, Lap Traffic Nation. Great to catch up with Brian. Can't wait to have them both on next week. Right now, it is time for the most condensed Lucky Dog and Lap Down segment in history of the Lap Traffic Podcast. And here's why. And that's because I dropped the ball Sunday and forgot to send out my tweet looking for your Lucky Dog and Lap Down pick. So fortunately, there are some of you dedicated diehards, which I love you, just sent some tweets in anyways. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? I don't have a problem making fun of myself, so we'll just go at it from that. So that's that. My lucky dog is Chase Elliott and 3-day holiday weekends. My lap down is me because I didn't send out the tweet for the first time in the history of doing the Lucky Dog and Lap Down segment. So there's that. So real quick, Scott at 1985 Wagner's Lucky Dog Chase, from cellar to stellar, a lap down, spin it, not win it. I love it. And then Brian at Stormin B81, who you're going to hear from in just a second on the fantasy segment here. Lucky Dog Chase coming from 34th to win. He'll pass Gordon in wins and in less races to do it. Lap down the rest of HMS. Larson didn't have speed and mistakes from the 24 and 48. So, yep, that's it. That's your Lucky Dog segment this week. I will be back on the ball because I won't have 40 people at my house next Sunday with Atlanta. So rest assured, I'll make sure to be back on my A game. So with that said, it's time to close this thing out. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, let's close this thing out with a little Lap Traffic fantasy. You guys know the drill. Make sure you get your picks in by Thursday, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Keep the Twitter interaction up using hashtag LTFantasy. Right now, joining me on the line, he is one of the many that scored week high this week. You can follow him on Twitter at StormingB81. It's Brian LaFell. Brian, what's up, man?
Not too much. How you doing?
Oh, man, living the dream, man. How was your 4th of July?
It was good, relaxed, watched the race, of course, being a Chase Elliott fan. And I actually picked Chase Elliott last week, so I am happy about that because I figured I would jinx him because I jinx people a lot.
I know the feeling. Well, that's cool, man. Well, listen, hey, before we get into things, for those that don't follow Brian, which you should, very interactive, but also does a lot of posts and helps spreading awareness on MS, man. So floor is yours, man. Tell everyone a little bit about what you do for that sort of thing.
All right, well, for those that don't know, I was diagnosed 4 years ago with MS. And then I was put in touch with the National Multiple Sclerosis Society, which, of course, is near and dear to me. And once a year, they have the MS Walk, which is in March, which I do. And usually do the fundraising. Starts about the end of November and then goes to March. I always joke around saying the November, December time is my head start time because, of course, with the holidays.
Sure.
But, even when it's not there, I want to, spread the awareness throughout the year because it's more than just that time of year. So I've been working on that, doing the videos, trying a YouTube channel because I can do more videos there. Longer videos because I only have like 2.5 minutes with Twitter.
Sure.
But like I said, I like to do the videos, especially because, I don't want to sound like the robot like you sometimes see. I want, tell everyone, what I go through, on a daily basis and how it affects me, and how it affects others as well. So, you figure the more you spread awareness, the more people know about it, the better it is.
Absolutely. No, love it, man. Excellent. All right. Well, all right. This week you had Chase and AJ, as you said, good for 94 points, 2 bonus points and week high. I had AJ Martin Truex, which was good for 81. I dropped a little bit in segment 2 and in the cumulative standings. I'm down to 38th in segment 2. Brian, you're right behind me, 42nd, but you're 58th cumulative. So you got some work to do if you're going to try to sneak into the playoffs here, man.
See, I was one of the ones, that didn't pick Kyle Larson every week. That's where I messed up.
I know, man. Next year, that will not be an issue. That it will definitely be different. But
oh yeah.
All right, let's see here. Top 10, segment 2 is Steven from DFS NASCAR with 919. In second with 860 is Henry Fletcher. In third with 859 is Kristen Hagelin. In fourth with 856 is Jeff Bevan. In fifth is Jess Rose with 854. Matthew Miles coming in sixth with 852. Pete Curvin in seventh with 845. Glenn Atkinson eighth. Chad Robb in ninth. And Joe Hewson wraps out our top 10 in segment 2. Bonus points. Henry Fletcher still in first with 9. We got John Witzel in second with 8. We got Carson Hagelin, Chad Robb, and Eric Sauter with 6. Jumpy Bob, Brad Carnes, Eddie Greer, Fred Leclerc, Glenn Atkins, and Joseph Scapino all have 5. And then over to the cumulative standings in first place, Henry Fletcher with 2,055. John Etwinsel drops to second with 2027. Then it's Jeff Bevan, Jeff Rose, Pete Curvin, Steven from DFS, Glenn Atkins, Brad Carnes, yours truly, and Joe Hewson in 9th, Josh Neal in 10th, Fred Leclerc in 11th, Chad Robb in 12th, Carson Hagelin in 13th, David Mullins 14th, Charles Lapierre and Michael from Blind Spot Podcast tied for 15th, and then John King wraps out our top 16 right now. So there's that. All right, Brian, what do you say? You ready to make some picks?
Oh, yes, I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. Lap Traffic Fantasy Players, we are headed to Atlanta this weekend for Cup and Xfinity. In the Cup Series, Ford has 6 straight wins at Atlanta. Chevy does not have an active driver that has won at Atlanta. How crazy is that? Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Casey Kane, Tony Stewart are the last Chevy winners. And then, of course, you got the usual Toyota suspects in the mix. We've only got 6 Cup races to go in segment 2, and with everyone picking Larson as of late, are you going to pull the trigger on one of the heavy hitters that you might have sitting on your bench still? And what about the Truck Series? We're going dirt racing at Knoxville. This is going to be a fun and interesting one to watch in our second truck dirt race of the year. Who keeps it clean in the dirt? Who can survive the bumps of Atlanta? We'll find out this weekend. But first, it's time for our picks. Brian, we'll start with you. Who do you got for the Truck Series?
For the Truck Series, I gotta go with John Hunter Nemechek.
Have to.
I know it's a dirt track, but and I'm sure all of my followers who know I don't like Kyle Busch or Kyle Busch Motorsports are going to get on me for that. But you got to go with who's doing really well.
Got to play for points, man.
Oh yes.
All right. Oh, John Hunter is my pick as well. Over in the Xfinity Series at Atlanta, who do you got?
I got Cindric. I think he gets back in the win column this week. It's been a couple weeks since he hasn't won, but I think he's going to break through and get that win this week.
All right. I am going to go with AJ Allmendinger. I think he's been on a hot streak as of late. Time to go pick up another win in Atlanta. And then the Cup Series. Who do you got?
Well, I'm probably going to disappoint everyone here because, as you see when I joke around, everyone who I pick usually has a bad week. And I think that Chevy's going to get that win. I can't pick Chase Elliott because I did it last week, so I picked Kyle Larson.
All right, man. I am with you. You and I, we got 2 for 2. Chevy's going to get it done, and I'm like, why not? Time to get on the Larson bandwagon, at least get some points.
Oh, yes.
I love it. All right, man. Well, listen, thanks for calling in. Good luck this week, and maybe we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Thank you very much.
All right, man. We'll see ya. All right, Lat Traffic Nation, that is going to do it for episode 249 of the Lat Traffic Podcast. Make sure you check out the website, thelattrafficpodcast.com, YouTube, The Lat Traffic Podcast, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all at Lat Traffic PC. Hey, if you want to be a part of next week's show, episode 250, DM me, tweet at me, shoot me an email, whatever, and I'll get you on the show. Huge thanks to Brian Neudorff, Brian LaFell, Dustin Albino, Michael Corsey Jr., and Landon Cassill, all for being a part of the show this week. Next week, it's your guys' show. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Make sure you tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya.